Whatever you want to do, mate. That's easy. Not smoke. Sorted? Yeah, okay?
Yeah. It was just pulling a little.
You're just like tied to the table. You're sitting like this the whole time. Just really intently watching.
Yeah.
See, ChatGPT loves you.
Nice, I like it.
Just go to ChatGPT to make you feel good about yourself in the morning. Tell me something nice about myself.
Tonight with Broadmeadow Magic taking on Newcastle Olympic.
Welcome to Magic Park. It is derby night in Newcastle, but not just any derby. It's red versus blue, Magic versus Olympic. And while they may be sitting at opposite ends of the ladder compared to recent years, don't let the standings fool you. This fixture always delivers something fiery and feisty. Magic are currently rock bottom, but they've got fire in their bellies and derby day venom in their veins. Their coach, Jason Konjarski, didn't mince his words during the week. Kick them while they're down was the message. With just one win all season, Magic see this not only as a chance to stir up the rivalry, but to climb off the foot of the table and set the tone for 2026. Meanwhile, Newcastle Olympic, once a title contender, have stumbled to a 4-match winless run and have only found the net once in that time. They've won both derbies this year comfortably, but coach Craig Atkins knows this one's a different beast. The goals have dried up, the pressure is on, and their top 4 spot is all of a sudden under threat. Big outs for both sides, Molly Salvador missing for Magic and still no Janali Haynes in goal for Olympic. And these could prove crucial factors tonight. There is plenty to play for and plenty of pride on the line. I'm Chris McPherson, and joining me tonight is a Newcastle football superstar, a Matildas and Jets alum, and the current NPL Women's Golden Boot leader, Tara Andrews. Tara, you've been part of plenty of big derbies as a player. What's the extra ingredient that sparks players for these rivalries, and what makes this red versus blue clash so special?
I guess you want the rights to be able to say we beat them, you know, and look, these types of derbies, you have a little bit more fire in your belly, and you just want to go out, and you don't want to be able to say that they've beat us a couple of times in the season. So I think for both teams tonight, they're going to have that fire in their belly, and they're not going to want to lose this game tonight.
Yeah, they're certainly going to be fired up. Olympic are set, Magic are making them wait. Let's take a look at the 2 starting 11s. For Olympic, in goals is number 31, Sienna Williams. Number 3, Gemma House. Number 4, Danielle Nicol. Number 5 is Georgia Hogg. 6, Laura Hall. 7, Elodie Dagg. 8, Jess Evans. Number 11 is Sophie McDonald. Number 15, Montana Quick. 16, Sarah King. And 35 is Keela Baldry. While for Broadmeadow, in goals, their Japanese import. Number 1, Ayano Kurosawa as we get underway. Number 3, Levi Cameron. 5 is Gemma Lawson. 8, Jennifer Reeves. 9, Tori Johnson. 11, Cassie Corder. 12, Alexis Andrews. 13, Brooke Bonner. 15, Emily Wicks. 17, Madeline Campbell. And 18, Kelly Thomas. They're coached by Jason Konjarski. Craig Atkins at the helm for Newcastle Olympic. And now they're working things forward, and all of a sudden a quick opportunity presents. Thomas takes a pot shot from range, a little wide of the goals, just a warning shot early. Talking about the way the teams line up, there's some punch, I guess you could say, sitting especially on that Newcastle Olympic bench when you have a look at a couple of the names there. Former clubmate of yours at the Newcastle Jets, Alex Hyun. And also lining up as well, and I just had a mental blank on the name, is Maddie Howard, thank you. So two players who at A-League and NPL level have been really strong players. To be able to pull those off the bench is huge for Olympic later in this game.
Yeah, I think it just shows that the depth that Olympic have today, and obviously, when players start to get tired later in the game and you put those two players on, they're going to be able to create something. Obviously, Matty Howard can score goals, and so that's going to be a real threat for them later in the game.
And then on the other side, we've got the leading goal scorer for Broadmeadow Magic, their absolute spark across the opening 7 to 8 weeks, LJ Babick, Lily Jane, coming off the bench as well. And we know what spark she can give at any point, but up against tired defence, she could be the difference as well.
100%, and I was very surprised to actually see her in the reserve grade team today. But obviously, another big threat to come off the bench for Magic. And, for those Olympic defenders, they're all quite quick. So I think, when they are getting tired, that battle between those two will be really interesting to see.
Wait and see how coaches Atkins and Konjarski respectively utilise their defenders. But in the meantime, it is Magic on the ball here in the early stages. They work it forward. Close quarters control. Dispossessed now. Olympic coming through Baldry. Olympic working it forward. Baldry on it again. A little bit of space. Closed down. Drops it back. Lofted forward optimistically. No runners there, but a little moment of turmoil as Sarah King nearly took that away for Olympic. She'll take the throw.
This is a really important game for both teams. Obviously, as you mentioned, Magic are trying to kick Olympic while they're down, but Olympic haven't won in the last 4 games, so they're going to want to score some goals. They've been creating chances, but just haven't seemed to be able to get the ball in the back of the net. So I think to build their confidence, that's what they'll be looking to do tonight.
Yeah, 100% as a chance presents for Dag inside the box. It spills a little out, and it's just cleared away. Clubbed across the byline, so we'll have a corner here immediately. And certainly when you have a look at the ladder and how it shapes at the moment, there's 5 points gap for Newcastle Olympic to New Lambton, your side in front of them. But it's only 8 points, and it sounds like a lot, but with how many games are to come and the danger that Lake Macquarie are building as they're bringing in, some former Jets players and things like this, they're getting better as they go in their first season in the NPL. So they can't be written off, as we might just come back to that in 1 second. Cleared away again by Broadmeadow. But then for Broadmeadow, a win today, they sit 5 points, again, that number of 5, behind Adamstown and Lake Macquarie. And admittedly, their goal difference, obviously significantly different, but getting a couple of wins on the way back home across this sort of back half of the season, the last sort of 7 or 8 games, they could actually get out of wooden spoon position. That's not out of reason, and tonight could be a big swing towards that.
Definitely. I think Magic are obviously looking to do that. They've got obviously some different players in their team over the last few weeks, so I think they're going to try and build some momentum, obviously going into the end of the season. And
Jason Konjarski talked about it during the week too. Like, he's very aware with the youth in this side that this is also for the core of this side, it's a building exercise towards 2026. It's not just a right now problem.
That's right, and I feel like coaches, get in that mindset sometimes if they're having a tough season. You sort of have to look for that next season. You try and do the best you can for the season that you're in, but you also got to look ahead and see what you can build for the next season.
One thing we know, there's been plenty of player movement. Broadmeadow have been part of that in this competition through the transfer window. As Olympic try and come forward. That's a strong tackle there by Brooke Bonner. It will be a throw in for Olympic in the attacking third. Broadmeadow under a little bit of pressure here. Olympic not really finding the threatening ball into the box, but persistent pressure early in possession down in this attacking third.
And the field doesn't look in too bad condition. Obviously, we've actually had a week of no rain, which has been really good for all the pitches around Newcastle. It's probably started to dry out. It's chopped up a little bit, but hopefully still in a pretty decent condition for the girls tonight.
It's interesting. You could see just then with the back pass, and it was the same. I called the men's match around earlier today at Arthur Eden. A lot of the traffic when it goes through the middle around these patches, and you can see it around the edges of the centre circle, as Broadmeadow go on this attack and take a pot shot at best as it goes across the face, and it'll be cleared away by Olympic down the line. But there's a lot of areas where the ball will take bobbles, so sometimes the teams have got to have a look at slightly different tactics and either going aerial to get the ball forward or at least coming around the wider patches where there hasn't been as much chop if you want to get the ball to play true, which is so crucial at this level.
Yeah, and I think it's quite interesting. A lot of teams, I know Olympic, New Lambton, Lake Macquarie all train on Spees Point, you know, maybe 1 or 2 sessions a week. So then to come and play on these fields, you really have to adjust your game a little bit, and it's a lot more bobbly, and you have to get used to that bounce again.
Goal kick eventuates here for Magic, and again, we talked about it. You don't see a huge amount of this. We'll often see some, we've seen a few Americans come into the competition, but the men's competition known for bringing in generally Japanese midfielders and attackers, but Jason Konjasi's gone out and imported in the last transfer window a Japanese goalkeeper, and you were talking about it before, Ayano Kurosawa, when you played against them, certainly looks when she gets the opportunity like she can play the ball out with her feet, and she's quite skilled in that realm for a goalkeeper, and she's certainly got a physical presence to her. She's not a small keeper either.
Yeah, that's right. She is very good with her feet, and I think when you think Japanese players, you probably make that connection that they are very technical, and obviously goalkeepers for a lot of Asian countries is probably not their strong point, so it's probably really good to see a Japanese goalkeeper, and she's really helping out Broadmeadow Magic playing out from the back.
Yeah, it's certainly great to see. We love seeing some of these players from our Asian Confederation and then even Oceania nations coming and joining a competition and getting a chance to put themselves in the shop window for some of the higher competitions. There's an update from the other game going on in the Women's Premier League at the moment, and Lake Macquarie and Maitland, 48 minutes gone and still tied up at 0-0. Lake Macquarie have really been Maitland's sort of bogey this year. They've really struggled. I think they had a draw the first time, maybe a 1-goal win the second time, and when you look at where they are on the ladder, you feel that Maitland should be doing a job against them, and I know Maitland made a few what they might have described as surprise changes. Mary Enswing came off the bench today for them, so she might spark that alive when she comes on. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Playing on the grass out at Lake Macquarie. Let's see how that one pans out and try and keep you up to date with it as it goes. This comes in from the corner, well seen away at the near post. Danielle Nicol playing it back.
I think last time that Olympic did play Lake Macquarie, they also had a 0-0 draw. So Lakes are definitely a very strong team and seem to cause a lot of problems. They just seem to be a little bit unlucky with getting the 3 points.
Flag stays down here. Keela Baldry, it had to be tight. The assistant referee right in position. Threads it in. Kurosawa out to it. They seem a team, and again, you've played against them, so you'd be a better judge of this than I, but they seem a team that if you can get on top of them early, they can be, quietened down, and then you can, do your job and get a margin on them. But if you get into the arm wrestle with them, or if you do what Broadmeadow did and let them score earlier in the year, all of a sudden, when those two teams looked like they were going to be, two of the teams that were battling for each other's positions, and then lots of people were quite surprised when Lake Macquarie came out and put 8 past them. So they're certainly a team that if they're allowed to play their style of football and can get into the game, then they'll certainly take that advantage.
Yeah, and they definitely build confidence from how the game's going, and with a 0-0 at half time essentially with Maitland, they're going to build that confidence and go into the second half and try and hold on and potentially snatch a goal.
Certainly interesting, especially some of the players. We touched on it before, the likes of Milan, Hammond and co coming in. Milan, one of the great examples of a confidence player, if I've seen one, really. She's someone that, if you give her a bit of a sniff, she will continue to run with it and get right into the battle. Now, an opportunity for Magic, but seen away by Georgia Hogg. This one just a little, despite the fact that Olympic have had a lot of possession and territory early, just feels a little bit cagey from both sides still. You can see that Olympic almost a bit nervy because they know they're not in form. It's almost like that's playing in the back of their mind. Yeah,
which is interesting because I think, last week against New Lambton, they obviously, they did lose that game, but they had a lot of opportunities, and, it's probably unlucky that they didn't get, another goal, probably. I don't want to say that, but, didn't get any more goals, and they should have probably built a lot of confidence from that game, and so...
Now, speaking of confidence, they push forward here, but just driving forward without really looking inbound. There's a couple of players in the box. Gemma House, their captain, and Keela Baldry both in there. It's interesting looking at this Broadmeadow side, having called them a couple of times early in the season, and it's such a different side. Jason Konjasi is so active in that transfer window. He's really refreshed this side after what was, playing out in the early rounds just wasn't working for them. I remember calling a game here with your New Lambton and former Jets teammate Cass Davis, And we talked about the fact that they kind of had a plan A, which was to lob the ball forward for Lily Jane Babick, and then they had a plan B, which was to lob the ball forward for Lily Jane Babick. So, you know, maybe that's something that Jason's revisited, and we'll certainly see that tonight as to, is it a bit more of a balanced lineup? And there's one of the big names they brought in, Tori Johnson. The ball spills forward. Alexis Andrews couldn't quite get on it and capitalise.
Yeah, and I think that plan A and plan B is obviously not the primary goal tonight, because with LJ on the bench, you know, maybe they'll change strategy when she does come off the bench, but they're trying to play around a little bit more and get more players involved.
Bonner looks likely as she probes it forward. I'll get there eventually. Cassie Corder. She's a player, when watching them earlier in the year, Cassie Corder, I just felt they needed to find a way to get her more involved. She was very much playing second fiddle, and she's got plenty of pace and touch. I am tripping over my own tongue tonight. Pace and touch, and look, she's certainly still young and got a lot of football ahead of her, but she's someone that you feel if she could develop, Cassie Corder, and in the right environment, she could become quite a name in this league. Oh, goes over the sideline, and an Olympic throw. This time pushed back over the sideline by Baldry, and the throw goes the other way. Magic taking their time. Waiting for the throw-in to come. Referee just redirecting them to where he would like it taken from. Off the outside of the boot, it was an optimistic hit from Kelly Thomas, and it'll roll away across the byline. If nothing else, Kurosawa, plenty of voice at the back here. Very animated.
Just what you want from your goalkeeper. Lots of talk.
I was going to say, especially in a young side, I'm assuming that, you know, like that becomes even more crucial. I mean, you play in a side that's got quite a number of experienced players, and it's probably still reassuring to have that talk from the back. But, you know, in your younger side, just having someone marshalling and building the confidence of the girls and talking them through it. Ball threaded forward. Madeline Campbell. And we picked up by Sienna Williams. Mix up here from Olympic Quarter. Steps on it. Oh, she was stepped on as well, but the referee says play on. Now the ball worked back. Sits for Jennifer Reeves, who plays it wide. The former Warners Bay product out to Gemma Lawson. Playing a solo hand today, Gemma Lawson. Normally her partner in crime, her sister Molly Salvador, alongside her. Not out there today. Still out with injury. Baldery plays it into feet and then works around the outside. It's going to be a foot race with Campbell, and Campbell gets there first and parries it across the sideline. As always here at Magic Park, we can hear the one-on-one coaching directions of Jason Konjarski floating their way up to our commentary position. Dever there from Gemma House to try and earn a corner, but just couldn't quite get it off a body in the end.
We've seen no real threatening chances, 10 minutes or so in to the first half. I think, as you said before, both teams are still a little bit nervous and no one's really breaking that line and trying to get in there and, have those shots or break through the lines.
It's one of those pieces, isn't it? It's very much a confidence game, and probably not something that you're suffering with at the moment, but I'm sure there have been times in your Jets career where, as a team, you've had those challenges in terms of, players, and we've seen it with teams, especially young sides too, where they'll go forward and rather than actually look to go to goal, they'll look to turn it back for someone else because they're just not confident because they haven't been successful in recent times, and it becomes, they always talk about, the mental piece of sport being almost as crucial as the physical piece, but it's quickly undermined, your confidence there with a couple of, results, or in Broadmeadow's case, quite a string of results, as Opportunity here in the box. The shot taken off the crossbar. That was so close. Alexis Andrews, she just undid absolutely everything I said. She was like, no, I've got a sniff here. I'm taking a shot, and rattled the bottom of the crossbar. It had to be millimetres away from crossing the line.
And there we go. There's a first real chance of tonight, and it's really unlucky that that didn't just tuck in under the bar. And that would have been a really important goal for obviously Magic to get the first goal in this match. And I'm sure that would have given them the confidence they needed to, potentially go forward and get another one.
It might be interesting. It might be enough, though. Again, that confidence is a funny thing. Just sometimes getting that half chance and knowing you're only millimetres away, that's, you've rattled the woodwork. Okay, well, we can do this again, and let's get a little bit closer and actually put one in the back of the net. Johnson puts this in and getting forward and up for a Cassie quarter. That was athletic. A player down on the ground. Is that Gemma House? No, Gemma House is there, so we'll try and get a number. Jess Evans, maybe. Or Jess Evans or Laura Hall. It's just hard from our commentary position while she's prone there. We'll try and update you. I think it was just a collision of Cassie Corder, who came in, and again, all of a sudden she came in flying with some intent about it. So a couple of nice little glimpses for Broadmeadow.
Yeah, and I think when teams get in those a little bit of a funk, you just have to go back to basics. You just have to do the things that work well and try and build back up that confidence, and not do anything too fancy and not do anything too hard. Just do the basic things right and then build from there. It's
a simple game when you break it all down, isn't it? It's just so easy.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, coming from the woman who's put 24 goals in the back of the net already this season. Okay, yeah, no worries.
Yeah, just pass, shoot, score. That's it.
Just have good teammates to put you in the right spot, right?
That's right, yeah. It helps a lot. Although it didn't seem to help last week. I didn't get on the score sheet.
Right, we'll note that down. I'm sure you've had a chat with Aaron about talking to the girls about that. Is that why Cass wasn't able to do commentary tonight? You put her in timeout. You need to go and think about your actions and what's happening with this team, Cassidy. It was Jess Evans in the end. We got there and worked out who it was. She's back up. It wasn't Jess Evans. It was Laura Hall. I thought I saw Jess Evans heading off then. It's always interesting in football compared to other sports where the player has to go off and then, wait. No, I always find it interesting even when they get fouled that they have to go off.
Yeah, I still don't understand why.
I understand why you have to do it when it's just an innocuous piece, because it's about stopping teams from being able to time waste, so there's no advantage to it. It's then a disadvantage theoretically, because then the referee can go, well, I think you're time wasting, so I'll make you sit off for a little bit longer.
Yeah, so what's the rule? When can the ref call them back on? They just
at their discretion, yeah. But that's why I find it bizarre if you're fouled and then your physio has to come on. It's like, well, why are you being punished at that point? Like, you're not going to be faking at that point. Like, and if you are, well, they shouldn't have fouled you because it would have stopped that from happening. But anyway, that's a whole narrative for another day. How do we fix the rules of football? I do like the new rule they've brought in, though, about the goalkeepers holding the ball.
The 6 second rule?
6, 8, 6, yeah, however long it is, and they can't hold it for longer than that, otherwise it's a corner, because it just stops goalkeepers. But again, they've got to have it in their hands.
That's always been a rule, though, hasn't it? 6 seconds?
It's now
an unwritten rule? Or
yeah, I think it was an unwritten rule, but I think it's 6 seconds and they move them on. Now, if they have them holding the ball for more than 8, I think they've moved it to, it's a corner. And we've seen it already in the Club World Cup that's going on at the moment where, it's happened. So it's like, that's a pretty big swing, right? But I also think it should be a piece where if you, take too long with a corner, that it should be vice versa. It's like, cool, right, we'll have a goal kick now.
Yes, yeah.
They'd quickly get people moving on with the game. There's exactly what we're talking about. Olympic just had that chance with Baldry, who switched over to the left, coming into the box, and she was looking to lay it off rather than shoot. Get the brains trust together, you, me, and I don't know who else, but we'll fix the laws of football. Half-hearted shot comes through, and Kurosawa plays it with the feet. And back to that goalkeeper rule, that's why you will see a lot more goalkeepers doing exactly that, just keeping the ball at their feet rather than picking it up immediately. Clubbed forward heavily by Lawson. Sniff of a chance, but it trickles back to Williams in the end. Williams skews that off the outside of the boot. Can't be trapped by Sarah King, and it beats her across the sideline. It'll be a throw. intentional header there, and then Reeves gets to it. Brought down, good close control by Thomas. Plays it out, Johnson feeds it into the middle. Alexis Andrews doing well over the ball. And now it's turned over though, and a chance maybe the other way. No, House can't control it, a boot in, and it's going to beat everyone across the sideline despite the pursuit of Emily Wicks. Advancing forward now. Donald feeds it infield. House out-muscled by Bonner. She's looked impressive in defence early. Certainly physical. And Lawson clubs it forward again. Johnson plays it back. A very heavy misdirected touch in the end from Wicks.
And Magic are trying to play around in the middle of the park really well. It's just that final pass, so just sort of just kicking it forward, not necessarily to anyone or into the right spaces. If they can just get that composure for that final pass, I think they'll have a little bit more success.
Reeves drives his forward looking for quarter. Nickel back and awake to it. Nice header there, and tracking back is Elodie Dagg, and Jen Reeves all over her, and the referee says we'll come back. See what, I knew it was fresh. I didn't think it was gloves on the field fresh tonight. Like, it's not the coldest night. I don't know the temperatures are getting low overnight, but anyway, I'm not out there. So
Elodie's always been a glove-wearing player. She seems to do it every season, so maybe she just gets cold hands.
Maybe. It's something I'm assuming that I can't recall seeing anyone in the A-League women's doing. That'd be a bit bizarre.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, you want ice packs all over your body in the A-League.
Yeah, some of those. Oh, that was a nice little trick there from Elodie. Don't worry about the glove. She can trap the ball with her knees. Feeds it forward to House, and beautifully composed from Kurosawa. She just watchfully saw it down into her gloves.
House probably had a little bit more time than she thought just then, and with the left foot first time would have been nice to see her take a touch and have a little bit more power behind that shot.
Ball one out there by Evans, but spills out wide now. Nickel tracking back, and Quarter takes it away. Andrews on it now, back to the right. Drop it back into the pocket for Cameron. Lawson, and back to Cameron. Good hustling defence there. Elodie Dagg doing well. Now they travel forward. Things open up for Olympic. Deflected pass. Almost fell for Baldry. She pirouetted the wrong way. If she had pirouetted left instead of right, she might have got to that. Danielle Nickel throwing herself in there. We're talking about her in the pre-game, Tara. She'll on track to bring up 100 games later this season. I think she's all of 27, so it's pretty impressive when you consider some of the seasons and the buys and things that come into it. It's a prolonged and consistent career at Olympic. Yeah,
it's a great achievement. I think to play, obviously...
A shot from distance there. Almost snuck past Kurosawa.
A great achievement, as we were saying, just from Nickel to get 100 games in this league. Obviously, it's a high level for the Newcastle competition, and to stay at that level for so long is a really great achievement. And as you said, there's probably only about 20 games sort of per season, maybe less, maybe a little bit more sometimes, depending on teams. So, great achievement.
It certainly is longevity and health half the battle as well. We know how the high level of injuries and their proliferation in the women's game, as we see this ball pushed wide for McDonald. A little heavy touch there, and the composure of Wicks comes back and just sees it across the sideline. Yeah, I'm always impressed by those milestones, especially in the women's game where we know reduced game numbers. When we talked about Cass Davis before, she's probably the epitome of that.
Yeah, that's right. I remember the A-League started, I think we had 8 games maybe, or 10 games in the first few seasons, and it slowly crept up from there. So
it's only in recent years that they've really got a full season. Even until probably 3 years ago, it was only about 12 or 13 games, wasn't it? So
yeah, I think the full home and away season only started the season just gone.
One before,
Maybe
I think.
one
So
before,
yeah, it's been 2 years. So yeah, scary to think the numbers Cass will rack up if she stays around for a few more years. She might get that double ton yet. So I think she's in the 160s or something like that at the moment. She's only missed one game since her debut.
Yeah, I don't think she's going to stop until she gets that 200.
And then you throw in how many games that she then plays, and she would have played more if she didn't have to sit out the 30 days. Don't get Cass Davis started on the 30-day sit-out between the A-League and the NPL, Northern New South Wales, which doesn't apply to the NPL New South Wales, and that's another interesting piece in the rules of football, the difference between semi-professional and professional competitions. I'm not quite sure, but anyway. There's a little foul there, a little shoulder-to-shoulder action. So you feel like Broadmeadow have really worked their way back into this one now. Looked early like Newcastle Olympic were just going to turn the screws and it'd be a matter of time, but Magic starting to hold their own in the exchanges and even come out on top on a few. Yeah,
they are, and their defence is obviously quite strong. They've got a couple of plays in there that are really trying to hassle, obviously, Gemma House and not let her get the ball. So they're really holding their own, and I think pulled back some of the momentum.
Clubbed forward by Wicks again, pushed back by Evans. Melody Dag, a nice ball. The only problem might be, and exactly as I thought, a little bit of confusion there, just a hesitation step, and allowed Madeline Campbell to get in there. I just think that McDonald and Sarah King weren't quite sure who that ball was for, and they sort of hesitate a little bit and may have undone the flow of the play, but they've got a corner, so they'll be happy enough with that result. King sitting for McDonald for the short corner. Not a lot of tall options in there. They do go the short corner. McDonald, can she provide a ball in? She can, but there's Wicks again. Falls back for McDonald again, and again Wicks blocks it. She's everywhere at the moment, is Emily Wicks. Andrews feeds it forward. Evans lays it off. Strong pressure there. Certainly, if they're let down anywhere, it's not effort, this Broadmeadow side. Lots of second efforts and pushing on, and Emily Wicks was the absolute telltale of that a moment ago. And here she is again. A little bit of a higher boot, but no contact, so play on, says the referee. Baldry now trying to work up against Bonner. McDonald's there. Can she cross it in and find a target? They've got numbers in the box. A little too heavy. It's the right idea. House was sniffing about just past that back post, and she had a couple of numbers in the box as well. She just had to find one of those three runners, Tara.
I think that was a great ball. I think it was unlucky that there was no one there. I don't know if those Olympic players got a little bit confused because there wasn't that many Magic people, so they could have thought that they were offside, but that was in a great spot, that cross.
It's promising for Olympic at least. It's the first time they've really attacked with any venom. And the fact they had three players against one in the box is probably a warning sign for Magic.
Yeah, and Baldry, she's had a few opportunities. She's dribbling at players, trying to create things for Olympics. So I think she'll trying to create stuff and will be able to in this game.
She's certainly dangerous when it comes to that creation piece, as Andrews just collides with the defender, then comes away with the ball. Johnson now. She's got a runner forward if she can find her. Nice bounce of the ball. The keeper's going to be out to it though. And all of a sudden, an ominous moment at the other end. Right idea. Again, just that half step off in terms of finding the runner on the ball.
Yeah, and that ball, you know, it wasn't too bad. It was probably a little bit too straight for a through ball to the goalkeeper where she could come out and pick that one up. A little bit more angle on the ball, and the runner might have been able to get there.
Yeah, you feel the run, because the runner had started outside the defender, and then they basically brought her back in, which meant that the gap closed down for her very quickly.
Yep.
Outside, it might have left the goalkeeper in two minds, but anyway, it's a lot easier from up here than it is down there.
It is.
Hopefully you don't listen to Renee and I when we start picking apart you guys and your play.
Oh, maybe I should. It might give you some tips.
Actually, I think the last time Renee and I called you in a game, we were just wrapping your pace. So.
Yeah, I don't know. People just think I'm really quick this season. I don't know.
Yeah, like I've always been really quick.
Yeah, turned on the... Yeah.
I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
It's always concerning when people start talking about how quick you are, like, you know, in reference to, you know, you're like, well, what were you saying before that?
Was I really slow before? Yeah. Definitely never been the quickest player, that's for sure.
I thought it was impressive because that was that day that was, you know, it probably felt like it was about 45 out there as they thread this ball forward, and there's no runners there, unfortunately, for Olympic as McDonald feeds it through. Kurosawa nice and composed. Has a boot on her too. She sends this long. Can Corder get the bounce? She's trying to get into position, but Nickel does well to body her out. That was definitely handball. Levi Cameron was just getting up and about with arms and legs everywhere, and the ball found one of her arms. Ball fed. Turns to Cameron, though. She picks it off. Corder trying to make a run. Unfortunately for Cameron, Corder had looked away and changed angles by the time she fed the pass. Now, Dag out wide. Looking for Baldry.
And there's that final pass again for Magic. They're just lacking. See that little bit more of composure.
You feel for both teams, if they could just, that sort of attacking midfield region, they could just get that next pass right. They could be sitting at 2-1 instead of 0-all at the moment, and that's either way. Some good lead-up play, good defence here. Olympic players tackling each other, that's different. Good tackle from Tori Johnson. Now she's going to be one-on-one with Evans. How can she conjure this? Gets to the outside, uses a pace as Johnson. She's got 2 numbers in the box, but Jess Evans recovers and gets a good sliding tackle to force a corner.
That's a really good run from Johnson there. Obviously won the ball back from King and then took on Jess Evans to get down that wing and got a corner out of it.
Something I like when you watch Tori Johnson is she will back her. So there's a lot of players in this league that start looking around first for distribution options, and if something doesn't immediately present in her vision, she's like, right, well, I'm just going to take this on and we'll see what we can conjure here. And it's kind of that spark that Broadmeadow might need. And now she'll hit the corner. Doesn't get it under it as much as she might like. It spills out wide, and Bonner's tracking back. She's got to the outside with a little touch. Baldry's going to have to work here. Baldry does work. Takes it away on the turn. Bonner's going to come back again. Absolutely cluttering together, those two, neither giving an inch, and Olympic get a throw.
Yeah, and there's a good battle between those two at the top here. So obviously, you know, when one of them's got the ball, they're just going after it, and they don't want to give it up easily.
Certainly good to see. So we see Olympic now just ranging across field. And go back to Williams. She lays it off to Evans. Magic not panicking defence. Johnson almost took it away from King again, but King wins out. Campbell gets a boot in, and it falls friendly. Quick plays it off. Now they go wide. Nickel now with a bit of room to work. Feeds the ball. That's a nicer through ball. Just a little too straight again, though. It's the right idea looking for Baldry. Broadmeadow have turned it over on the defensive side of midfield. And now Baldry with a bit of space to work. Can she get it across and find House? Little deflection falls friendly for McDonald. She's in there dangerously. Bonner's there, though. Closing it down. And that was a bit more good fortune than good management for Broadmeadow. And this one, Baldry just wasn't ready for that pass back from Dag, and it trickles away over the byline for a goal kick.
Yeah, it was unlucky that McDonald couldn't get a shot away there. She obviously had a good few touches to get away from the defender, and then the defender just got that last touch in.
I'm always interested, especially, you know, these two teams are teams that, you know, haven't been, you know, prolific scoring goals this season, but I'm always interested what the conversation is there, whether coaches are wanting players to back themselves. I'm surely thinking if you're getting more than 2 touches in the 18-yard box, the coach is wanting you to try and get a look and have a shot there. And again, it might be that confidence piece we're talking about.
Yeah, that's right. And I think
here's a player who doesn't lack any confidence in House. She's got 5 already this season. Feeds it into the box. That's a nice ball. Campbell, McDonald again. She had it back to goal then, to be fair. But just trying to bring it under control, and the defence converged.
Yeah, I think that touch from McDonald there just let her down. It's a little bit too far in front of her.
It's a hard one. Again, always easier from up here when we can see all the moving pieces and the space between them. What's that line they say, Tara? You can't see the forest for the trees when you're down there in the action. Nice turn there defensively, and it doesn't spill friendly. Baldry nearly there again. They renew their rivalry, Bonner and Baldry, and Bonner will just parry it across the sideline.
And they're putting a little bit of pressure on here, Olympic. So for them, I think if they could try and get a goal in this next 5 to 10 minutes, keep this pressure on, give them a lot of confidence going into half-time.
And Maitland have just taken the lead out at Lake Macquarie Regional Football Facility in the 76th minute. They lead at 1-0.
That's very important points for Maitland, isn't it? Because Charlestown have jumped them to take top spot. So
we had that top of the table clash last week. It was, again, that was a late win for Maitland. Was a goal from the corner? It was actually their centre-back Talia Gosner getting the goal from a well-weighted corner and a header to take the lead 1-0 Maitland. So it's always nice in those low-scoring ones. I don't know if the strikers like it when the centre-backs are scoring. I suppose you're happy if you're getting the 3 points.
Definitely. Doesn't matter who scores as long as you're winning.
Quarter now, urged on by her coach in Konjarski, but she collides with Evans, who takes it away, and all of a sudden Olympic looked to transition. A heavy touch there. Another missed touch at the back from Georgia Hogg this time. Baldry dispossessed by Lawson.
I think a few of those poor touches, it's probably just showing that this field is, quite bobbly, and it is quite hard to get that under control and, try and get a good touch and then a good pass away.
Good tracking back there. Is that House? It is. Well-weighted ball too. But again, that first touch from McDonald just deserts her. King plays it in well, beating one defender. McDonald's got it now. What can she do here? Lays it off. Dag against Bonner. The defence converges. Olympic appealing for a foul. Both players tangled up, but good defensive clearance from Broadmeadow again.
That's really good, desperate defending from Magic there to get that away. Obviously, very unlucky for Elodie Dag not to get sort of in front of the defender and get that shot away, but some really good, desperate defending.
Looked certain to get at least a shot on target, if not more, didn't it? And somehow, whether by good fortune or good design, Broadmeadow got back there. And they've done that a few times today where they've just got enough bodies in to congest the channels and make that decision-making harder. And here they go here. Lawson feeds it forward, but Johnson realises it's overhit, so doesn't turn for it. You can see as we head further into this half, the fatigue's starting to take its toll despite the fact it is cooler under lights tonight.
Yeah, I think Magic just have to hold on now into the half-time break. If they can get away with a 0-0 at half-time, it'll be good for them going into the second half. They need to be really smart for this last 10 to 15 minutes and not give away too many opportunities.
And just about to hit the 40-minute mark here at Magic Park. Still 0-0. Olympic, the greater number of chances. Magic probably the best of the chances. And they rattled the underside of the crossbar midway through this first half. Now, again, Wicks there and just clubs it across the sideline. Olympic to take the throw. It'll be King with the throw. McDonald feeds it forward, but there's no runners chasing. Baldry will come across, but won't be anywhere near it, and Kurosawa will come out. She moves it along, but kicks out McDonald. Quick comes across. And ends up spilling across the sideline for a throw-in favour of the team in blue, Newcastle Olympic. Now driven forward. The irony when we were talking earlier about that Lily Jane Babick plan A plan is the way the Surfers is playing tonight. That actually might be the best plan, is just to find some out-and-out pace and get the ball forward for them. Because
I do agree. I think when she does come on, they should use that tactic, because with the bounce and the way the field is tonight, I think, you just take your chances. You try and kick it into space for her to run onto, and, defender might be making a mistake, take a poor touch, press the ball and see what they can get out of that.
Yeah, I almost wonder if that is the point at somewhere in the second half where you maybe have Corder on one wing and Babic on the other, and then you just have Andrews plugging the middle or Johnson plugging the middle, cleaning up the scraps. And if the defenders decide they want to double team Babic, which is often a defensive choice, as Lawson clears this away, well, then you use Cassie Corder. And then if, the clearances don't work, and we've seen a lot of the clearances not work tonight, where you've got someone with the finishing ability of Johnson in the middle. So we'll see what Jason Konjarski decides to do. And equally, some experience and ability from that the Olympic bench, whether they can bring them on and start to free up some players as well. So, the players of like an Alex Yun who can put forward those balls with accuracy as well. So, lots to play out here as we head towards half-time. Still deadlocked at 0-0. Throw in. Ball stays in. Well controlled. Played down now. Andrews plays it back. Cameron. Olympic appealing for handball. Ball threaded through. I'm not quite sure who she was looking for there. I think she had a play in her mind, but didn't really look to see if the players were there to support it. And now Baldry, who's been busy and solid for Olympic. McDonald comes in trying to take it away, but it falls the way of Bonner, who goes wide. Now she can turn back, and she tries to go forward. Manages to hang on to it under pressure from McDonald. Feeds the ball through between two. Johnson now. Ball comes off the Olympic play, does it? No. Yes, it does. A little bit of confusion between the referee and the assistant referee. And the throw comes quickly, looking for Johnson. Bodies up and maintains possession. Now she gets to the outside of Nickel. Can she cross it in? She can, but it finds an Olympic head. Racing up now. Air swing from Madeline Campbell. She recovers to retrieve it. Certainly end-to-end stuff, but it's not the prettiest at the moment. Both sides just struggling with their final bits of connection and cohesion. That's a better ball. Fed out wide. King can track it down. She does. Does well to get away from the defensive efforts of Corder. Plays the ball through to the advantage of House, who feeds it into the box. Would have liked that a little bit further out in front of Kurosawa, as she had Baldry racing through. And again, the right setup, the right build-up, not the right end pass.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's just that final pass for both teams tonight. And I think most of this game's actually being played in the middle of the park. We're not seeing either team really use the width probably enough. There's, little moments where they are using it, and they're getting a lot of success just there with Gemma House being wide. So hopefully in the second half, if both teams can use that width a little bit more, try and stretch the teams, and then they can try and go through the middle from there.
It is interesting, because even when we do see them sort of use what you might term the width, it's exactly what's happening now, where you've got all the players within sort of 2/3 of the field from one side, and then they'll play up and back a couple of ways, and then all of a sudden someone will decide to switch out the ball, and then they'll stay on the other side for 90 seconds, 3 minutes of play. And it's just like, and again, I get it's harder with some of these young girls. They might not have the ability to play some of those switching passes. We've seen a couple lately where if you just get that switch, that point of attack, it's going to, if nothing else, it's going to tire out the other defence having to track back and forward to stay with you.
Yeah, and I think, they might not have the range to switch the ball in one pass, but even, sort of a two-pass switch out. But it is difficult on this type of pitch when you're playing into the middle of the park. You've probably got pressure on you. If you take a bad touch, it is hard to get that switch on.
See what we can come up with here. A little heavy touch, but driven down the line. King can't control, and we'll have a throw in as we head towards half time here. There's been plenty of quality football in build up for a 0-0 game. It's just those finishes as Kurosawa plays this wide. Wicks with a longer ball, headed forward by her opposite number in Quick. Little nudge from behind, I was going to say. Laura Hall, smart about it, knew how to make sure that she got all full advantage of that. And at the end of the day, that's how the game works.
That's right, very experienced player. And if you feel a little push in the back, then take advantage of it.
be fair, we haven't had a lot of stoppages for fouls so far today. We've had a couple of corners and a handful of throw-ins, but there's been a lot of ball in play, realistically. As you see, Elodie Day lofts this in. That's a better delivery. Just everyone watches it, though, until it falls out to House. House versus Johnson. Toe-to-toe. House feeds it back. Half strike taken. This is a better opportunity. The bounce just beats Laura Hall. Does well to keep it inside the byline. Turns back against the grain. Sets it for Dag, and it beats a diving Kurosawa. And Elodie Dag gets the one that starts the scoring here. A Newcastle Olympic lead 1-0. And that's what we talked about, backing yourself. A nice ball fed in by Hall after she turned back. And Dag just finished too quickly for Kurosawa to get down to it.
That's right, and Olympic didn't let that ball go. Obviously, the first cross that came in, you know, it went wide. They stayed in. Laura Hall obviously chased that one down. A nice little cutback and a great finish from Elodie Dag there.
I was just about to, as she took that free kick, give Elodie Dag a rap, because I sort of, made light of the gloves before. But I tell you what, when you've got something unique like gloves, it makes it a lot easier as a commentator to identify who it is.
It does.
So very easy to identify the goal scorer when she's got the gloves on. But a well-hit strike too, across the face of the goal, into that bottom left corner.
Yeah, and very unfortunate for Magic not to be able to hold on until this half-time break. But obviously, I think from there, Olympic will take a lot of confidence going into the break.
And it was right on the shadows of half-time. And Magic do manage to get the lead. Magic did manage to get the lead. Olympic managed to get the lead in the shadows of half-time. They lead 1-0. We'll take a short break here. Chris McPherson and Tara Andrews for Northern New South Wales Football. And we'll be back with the second half in just over 10 minutes.
That's the feeling. Progress. Momentum. Getting somewhere. That's what it feels like when you bank with Newcastle Permanent. With local experts and award-winning customer service. We're here for you, and we're here for good. That's the feeling. Progress. Momentum. Getting somewhere. That's what it feels like when you bank with Newcastle Permanent. With local experts and award-winning customer service. We're here for you, and we're here for good.
Welcome back to Magic Park for the second half of this match of the round in round 15 of the Northern New South Wales NPLW. Set for kickoff here, and at the halftime break it is Newcastle Olympic leading Broadmeadow Magic as Jen Reeves has an absolute air swing there to get us started, just showing that surface that Tara Andrews and myself were talking about in the first half. And Tara, that's probably not what Broadmeadow were looking for coming straight out of the sheds. An air swing off the back pass off the start. And another one.
Yeah, and I don't think that's how Broadmeadow Magic wanted to start the second half. I'm sure at halftime it was a talk about let's stay in the game. Obviously, Olympic getting that goal right before the halftime break. Probably, pushed Magic down a little bit, but I think they need to just try and stay in this game, stay solid at the back, keep working, and they might be able to get something out of it.
I feel the message from both coaches might have been the old cliche about how crucial the next goal is going to be in this one. Obviously, only the one goal and only just in the shadows of half-time. If Olympic go 2-0 up, this young Broadmeadow side is going to be very hard to see them coming back, whereas if Broadmeadow could grab one, and we've seen a couple of promising attacking raids, as we said, they rattled the crossbar in the first half. All of a sudden it becomes almost a little bit of a lottery and who can get the best of the momentum and the bounce of the ball. Yeah,
that's right. And I think Magic have to keep trying to put that pressure on Olympic. Obviously, they did have a couple of opportunities in the first half, that one that hit the crossbar, but they need to keep the pressure on, stay compact at the back as well, and just see if they can get something, maybe a few balls that are a little bit wider. As we said earlier, Cassie Corder out wide. Maybe when LJ Babbitt comes on, see what they can do.
One thing's for sure, 45 minutes of red and blue rivalry do not go away. Hall now, she set up the first. What can she do here? She slices through the defence, gets past a couple before it's broken up. House now on the ball, Corder chasing her down. House feeds it into the box, seen away. Hall, will she take a strike? No, Bonner breaks it up again. She's been a defensive certainty for Magic so far. Now she feeds the ball forward. That's a promising ball, but again, just a little too straight and a little too heavy for Andrews to chase it down. Missed touch, but maintained possession for Olympic. Now Hall, the experience, drops it back in the pocket to Evans. She lofts it forward off the inside of the boot. Looks like we've had a change at half-time. Maddie Howard has come on. Try and work out who she's come on for now. We'll do the process of elimination. Looks like Sophie McDonald. Makes sense that you'd look to that experience of Maddie Howard, Tara, just to try and lock things down and maybe work towards securing a second goal.
Yeah, and Maddie Howard looked like she's come on the left-hand side here for Olympic, so left-footed player. Hopefully they can get the ball wide to her and see if she can get some crosses in the box.
The throw coming, looking long for Johnson, and it goes back across the sideline. Nickel with the throw. Headed forward by Hall. Baldry feeds it. That's a nice ball out in front of House. Broadmeadow appealing for offside, but I think the assistant referee's got this right, but good last line defence there.
I think that was a very close call. It could have probably gone either way with offside there, and obviously Magic defender just doing enough to get back and put Gemma House off balance so she couldn't get that shot away cleanly.
Good work from Madeline Campbell there, but what a ball in the lead up just to find House. Whether she was half a step on or half a step off, that was pinpoint.
It was, and that's the sort of balls that we're looking for, with that precision, with that composure to play forward and find their forward players.
Yeah, it's not only well placed, well weighted, but the smarts to keep it off the ground. As we said, it's just there's no reliability in the surface here in terms of how it will bounce. And again, that's no fault of anyone managing the surface. With the amount of wet weather we've had, the amount these grounds have been chopped up, and then a week plus of sunshine and even some very low single-digit temperatures, almost on the level of frost. Make it hard to get any sort of surface up to scratch, so they've done well to get what they have, and all the fields around the area. We're talking about a couple of the others, Alder Park and Arthur Eden, that are around this part of Newcastle, all in similar conditions. So it's wonderful that we can just be out there playing as Alexis Andrews tries to go forward. Jess Evans, this could be a penalty. He's going to say the foul's outside the box.
Oh, I think that's a pretty tough call there. I think Jess Evans looks like she was pulling it back a little bit in the shirt and then sort of did make that contact in the box.
Jason Konjarski clearly agrees with us that was in the box. And look, the first grab was outside the box, but she ended up going into her back, which Alexis Andrews might have done again, a good job of making sure that she got all the advantage. But we saw Laura Hall do the same thing in the first half. Like, that's part of football. I thought that was going to be a penalty for all money, and I thought this is really going to put a cat amongst the pigeons. But I tell you what, if there's someone who can curl this in from here, Tori Johnson's got the ability, just outside the box.
Yeah, and a really unlucky call for Magic not to get that penalty, but let's see what Tori Johnson can do with this free kick.
I think she has to try and curl this around the right side of the wall from the right boot and bring it back across the face. And that's what she does, over the top, and a little mistake and a fumble there, almost a chance. Is that Emily Wicks powering through?
Just not quite enough strength behind that shot.
No, it certainly forced a save though, which is, again, something that Magic haven't been able to do a lot of yet this game. And all of a sudden it's threaded forward, looking for Howard. Howard up against Bonner. I'll tell you what, I enjoyed the Bonner versus Baldry battle before. The Howard and Bonner battle could be even better as Nickel takes a strike. Kurosawa down to this one well. She reads the ball early, Kurosawa. She got herself down almost too early then. That, you know, the ball then came into her and sort of spat off her hands. It might be an opportunity there for Olympic if they follow through. Nickel now gets a boot in. Johnson heads it forward. Andrews prods it out wide for Lawson, but it's picked off by Danielle Nickel, and she's got plenty of space, acres of space in front of her. Howard holds her width. She goes the other way and feeds it out in front of House. House takes a strike, and Kurosawa again down to it along the ground.
She had a lot of time and space there in the middle of the park.
Well, I think what Maddie Howard did by holding very wide caught the attention of the Broadmeadow defence, and so they all drifted to the right, focusing on the ball player and what looked like the obvious option. It was great eyes-up football to spot House in the middle as Nickel wins this one out. And again, it's one of those pieces that, you know, if you get caught ball watching, it can be so dangerous as any player, but a defender especially.
That's right. And I think that's what Maddie Howard brings to this team as well. She's able to feed those balls in, and that, you know, that combination there, playing in Gemma House, if they can just use that a little bit more. I'm sure if Gemma House had that shot again, she might have taken a touch and really got behind that one. But a really good play from Olympic. Hindsight
is a wonderful thing, but as you say, yeah, wonderful play. A couple of promising plays early here for Olympic, but also for Magic as Andrews gets free. Can she find a teammate? Feeds it in. Oh, so close. Callie Thomas. I think a boot went over the top of it in the end. She kind of got a trailing foot just caught and had to reach. And because of that, the foot was elevated. She had Sienna Williams absolutely dead to rights. My goodness. We're seeing it at both ends now. This game is really opening up here at Magic Park.
Yeah, and I think Magic, they're sniffing something now. You know, they've had that free kick opportunity and that shot across just there. So they're going to be really pushing now to see if they can get a goal.
Well, we've barely blinked since half-time. We've had 2 cracking opportunities at both ends. 4 cracking opportunities in total. This game, as I said, is opening up, and well, there's plenty of time for twists in the tail. And could this be one? Is Howard onside? No, she's not. The flag goes up. I thought she might have just jumped the gun a little bit there, but again, just holding that width, and it's what you talked about in the first half, Tara, just having someone to hold that width, because it's going to do 2 things. One, it's going to create an opportunity like that if she can stay onside, or 2, it's going to force the defenders apart, which is going to allow those through balls to start coming through because they're going to have to hold their width. And again, that's just the experience of Maddie Howard starting to, you know, play some little games with the defence.
Yeah, and I think both teams have a little bit more confidence. They're trying to play, they're trying to get forward and use the width of this field. And we've now seen, you know, 2, 3, 4 times using that width
Another chance here as Nickel tries to clear this away, and Magic push forward Lawson into the box for Andrews. Plays it on for Lawson again. Lawson gets a deflection and then parried away. Lawson, not quite the deflection she was looking for off her top of her nose, but more promising from the Broadmeadow captain there, and more promising from Magic. As you say, both sides exuding confidence at the moment. Good close quarters work. Hopped into the box. Quarters there racing. She's going to put pressure on King. King does the right thing and just clears it across the sideline. This game just feels like... It really feels like we could have 3 or 4 goals in quick succession here, but just no one able to get that killer blow at the moment.
It does, and there's a lot of energy in the air from both teams, and they're both pushing, they're both trying to get that goal, and I hope that we do see a few more.
And go all the way back to Kurosawa. Yeah, I hope this starts to open up, because it could be a really enthralling remainder of this game. That old friendly fire when the front player ducks under it and just comes into your face. So one of the players in the men's game, Tyron Cousins, absolutely wear one unexpectedly from reasonably close range. It was coming flat where the player at the front just sort of ducked under it, and it glanced up and off his head into his eyes. And that one was very similar. I think it just got the back of the head of the midfielder. Good dispossessing effort here, Levi Cameron. Strong contact from Jess Evans. Neither side wanting to give an inch. Laura Hall now. Andrews chasing back. Hall plays it out to Nickel. Nickel Howard running wide, looking for the overlap. She goes back to Hall, who's going to slice through the middle. Lawson, shoulders up. Hall comes away, appeals for a foul. And they're going to come back for the original foul.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope that last little push wasn't a foul. Hope it was the earlier one.
I think she might have actually just grabbed the ponytail on the way through on the first one. So, yeah, we can't be having that. Again, though, it's just starting to show the energy and the passion is just lifted from both sides. And
yeah, and Olympic got out of that press really well. I think Magic will probably, the back half of the team was sitting off.
Dag feeds it into the box. It's clubbed away. Bonner pushes it across, and it goes just to the goal side of the corner flag, so it will be a corner. Daniel Nickel will take it. That was a nicely worked play, though. It looked like it was just going to slip through the defences. And again, Magic just shown a couple of times that they're just setting up and they're defending to what they expect versus defending to the options.
Yeah, it's definitely opened up in the back line for Magic now.
This comes in dangerously, headed away. Nice work, Lawson. Brought down by Johnson using the shoulder. Cleared forward. And it will go away over the sideline. Better defensive composure this time. Now the throw beats the first 2 leaps of Dag and Johnson. And Magic fouled. And we're going to have a change here, are we? Certainly will. Zoe Daly, the former emerging Jet, will come on. And she's replacing Bouldry by the look. She's got a good strike in her, Zoe Daly. I had the good fortune of calling her for a couple of the last seasons for the emerging Jets. As the ball spits out wide. Now King with a bit of room, but a touch, it's a bit too heavy, and it's taken away by Campbell. She plays it down the line, but no one really down there. Quarter had tracked across to the other side in defence. And so now Olympic with the numbers on the right. Play it there, play it back infield. Now King advancing. She comes centrally. Plays it along the turf where it's controlled by Bonner. She'll go all the way back to Kurosawa. Kurosawa clears it long. Well-placed ball to Johnson. That's a nice long pass. Johnson tries to play the pass for Thomas, but Thomas was on her heels. Now Nickel feeds it forward. Maddie Howard with room. And she looked to feed it in early. No, cuts back against the grain. Now plays it into the box and driven across the sideline defensively. As we have a pitch invader in the form of a plover. Now the throw. They go deep with that. Almost all the way down to the byline. They try and feed it back in. They find it for Nickel almost, and nicely cleared away to the advantage of Olympic, but away for Broadmeadow. Dag with the throw. Broken up, prodded forward and headed back across the sideline, and it'll be another touch for Olympic in the way of a throw-in. I feel like since we gave him a rap about how well it was going and all the chances, it's just gone back to where we were.
I was just thinking that it's a little bit of a lull again, and the ball's sort of on the sideline going out, throw-ins. It's just taking
Daly doing her work and cuts through a couple. Nice little ball played out for Hall. Pops it into the box and it falls the back stick. House couldn't get it. Howard does cross it over, but it goes across the crossbar. Well clear and no threat to Kurosawa.
Really unlucky for Gemma House here. I think it even looked like it went through her legs.
Seen a couple of those, and again, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and just say the bobbles, and we saw the one down here. I think it was Callie Thomas, and it just looked like her back foot got stuck, and then she ended up reaching. And so, as you know, when you do that, it's hard to really get the foot down to ground. And if she had got contact, to be fair, I think if she had got any contact, it was a goal there for Callie Thomas, and similar there for Gemma House. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. For every one that you get, there's plenty that you don't. Nickel feeds it through. Everyone just stood and watched that one. I wonder too if just that intensity for that sort of 15-minute window is taking a little bit of wind out of the sails of a lot of these girls. It's hard to maintain that level of effort and drive for 45 minutes, let alone after you've already played 45 minutes. Yeah,
that's right. And I think, Magic, they're obviously trying to push and they're trying to press a little bit higher for that 15 minutes. So that's what sort of opened up the gaps at the back. And as you say, you can't keep that up for 45-minute periods. So it'll probably be a little bit of a lull, and then they'll pep back up again, and hopefully we can see some more opportunities. Hopefully
that's the finish that we want to see. Stay tuned. Tara Andrews says that it's going to be some punch in the tail. Collisions here. The referee says play on. Driven down the line by Magic. No real runners. Evans tracks back for it. Plays it to a centre-back partner in Hogg, who drives it forward. A nicely weighted ball for Daly. Tries to turn it back against the traffic. Now out in front of Corder. Starting to wonder when we might see Babic as Corder ranges forward here up against King. King does well, takes it away. They were shoulder to shoulder and toe to toe. Now Daly a little touch on, a little heavy with the touch. Maybe some nerves for the youngster coming on. Inside the final 30 minutes here at Magic Park. An Olympic with the single goal advantage thanks to that strike just before half time, coming the way of Elodie Dag. Driven forward now. Again, just an awkward bounce, and King feeds it out for Daly. Can she find the ball to feed it into the box? She certainly can, but Lawson's there and picks it off. Sends it back to the player that sent it in Daly. She tries to thread the needle. This time it spills out and it's just cleared long. That's probably fortunate for them where that found its way to Corder. And they play it back in, and Levi Cameron's there. She tries to take on Danielle Nickel. Danielle Nickel says thank you very much, takes it away. Maddie Howard in a huge amount of space on the left, but they try to turn right. Corder tracks back for it. Manages to bisect a couple of defenders, but again, just that midfield malaise turns it over. Hall there, the experience. What can she conjure? She thinks about passing to Daly, but I think she realised Zoe Daly was likely offside. Now the little 1-2 sitting for Elodie Dag, and she danced through there but couldn't come away with possession. Just getting tied down here a bit. Hall feeds it now wide for Daly. Some appeals for offside. The flag stays down. Daly crosses it into the box. It beats the first. Dag now back into the box. Can she poke it home? Chance there in the second effort. The third effort for Howard. She was facing the wrong way, and it spun away, and all of a sudden the counter starts. Gemma House might have been a little lucky to get away with that contact after the fact, but Tori Johnson decides she'll get one back. She won't get away with it.
That was a very tough challenge there on the sideline with Johnson taking out Gemma House, and she's getting a bit of a talking to for that challenge.
We never condone anyone taking things into their own hands, but I can understand she might have been frustrated after the challenge just before that. But at the end of the day, it's one of the first things we're taught when we play any sport, let alone football, it's play the referee's whistle.
That's right. Don't retaliate. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't look back at the limited highlights of my career to understand whether or not I listened to that advice. An opportunity here from well out wide Dag, both hands held aloft. Into the box, dangerous. Spilt there by the keeper, cleared away in the end though. That's probably the first blemish we've seen from Kurosawa. Now Alexis Andrews got a long way to go to goal, but she's going to try and take it on as she knows. She pulls up, cuts back infield against Quick. Reeves with the ball. Nice ball over the top. Johnson up against Dag. Hall comes in and clubs it across the sideline. Throw in going the way of Broadmeadow Magic. And have a change for Broadmeadow. Amanda Young coming on. Jennifer Reeves going off.
Substitution for Broadmeadow Magic. Amanda Young coming on, replacing.
Now, Andrews plays it forward, looking for Young. The touch a little heavy. Leading forward, an opportunity again here. House, ranging pass, switching that point of attack. It's what we called for in the first half, and she does it with aplomb. Daly around the outside. Little touch on. Is it going to be a little too heavy? Well, right idea. Again, execution not quite there, but a much more promising sign from Olympic with House delivering those balls, and maybe that's the role she needs to drop into.
Yeah, I think we've seen a couple of sort of long switches of play from Jennifer Reeves for Magic and then for Gemma House, and they were both quite successful. So hopefully we can see a little bit more of that. They're getting more space out wide, and just that final touch and the final 1v1 battle.
I've seen Kelly Thomas has a long pass, and she's the one that's slotted into that midfield now for Reeves, with Young coming on and playing on the right wing. So again, it's just trying to find someone who can maybe unlock that pass. And as we said, maybe House sort of playing a bit more centrally, but sitting back in the pocket a touch. There's Andrews and Evans in a foot race here, and Evans realises she's got no support, so just drives it across the sideline.
And Evans is nearly playing as a sweeper. There's been a couple of times where she's been quite deep, and you know, Magic have played that long pass in behind, and she's been there to obviously to clean it up at the back.
What can they come up with here? Andrews has looked good with some of the touch that she's got. Probably not the striker that you're utilising to get into open field, but in close quarters with some touch and being able to conjure some things. She may be the player that you're looking for. Hall now, she's advancing a long way forward and going to try and put the pressure on Kurosawa. Kurosawa, though, decides to play it out. Now Wicks, and she plays it to Campbell. Campbell, not quite sure. I think she was trying that sort of pass we were talking about, but it didn't quite work out. Good body contact from Cameron. Some fortunate control. And continue to hustle here. Young now coming in. Body's going in and body's coming out, but not much happening in the way of passes sticking. Hogg lofts it forward. Mawson gets a boot in and pushes it across the sideline. I think we just heard the call from Jason Konjarski, and LJ Babic will be coming into the fray momentarily. I was literally about to ask you, Tara, at what point does Jason Konjarski throw her in here? Because she's one of those cards, especially when she's played a large portion of that reserve grade, that you don't want to be using her for a long point, because going to bring the throw in back. It didn't come in, says the
Yeah, I think at this point of the game, they're obviously down 1-0, right? So you need to bring her on early enough so she has time to get into the game and try and use those opportunities.
Yeah, exactly right. As I was saying, though, it's one of those things, isn't it? Like, you don't want to bring her on for 30 minutes and she uses that up in 15 minutes and can't really bring anything. But you also don't want to bring her on with 3 minutes, which doesn't have enough time to do anything. And it's a fine art. And if she doesn't score and win the game for them, he's probably done the wrong thing as far as the average punter is concerned. So
that's right.
Who'd be a coach? Yeah,
that's right. And look, they're not looking for one goal, they're looking for two. So I think time is not on their side.
No, certainly not. Is that something that's in the future for Tara Andrews, some coaching, or?
Yeah, I think there might be. Yeah, I'm doing a little bit at the moment, so yeah, might see a little bit more.
A little bit more. Yeah. Is that something that you've got an aspiration for, or is it just kind of see how it conjures out, and plays out?
Yeah, I do. I do want to do some coaching. I like individual coaching. I'm a very technical player, so I like to be able to teach players, how the best way to strike a ball is.
Just the art of burying it in the back of the net.
That's right, yeah. I think I see too many players, a lot of female players who can't really pass with their left foot, for example, or can't strike. I can generally do both feet. So just want to be able to teach kids from a young age to start doing that, and hopefully it helps.
I think it's an underestimated part of a lot of sports. As you know, I come from a background that's as equally heavy in the rugby codes, and the amount of 16 and 17-year-old male players who can only pass a football properly one way as the ball's threaded into the box here. And as you know, like you might be able to kick a ball that equates as a pass to get to a target with both feet, but are you actually passing correctly? Or striking the ball to find the top corner correctly, or these other things.
That's right.
It's that muscle memory when you're under fatigue in the 90th minute doing those bits right.
And I think it can just restrict players. Like if someone's only going to use their right foot to turn, they might only turn in one direction, which, if they can use their left foot and open up space on the other side or take their touch forward, it just opens up a lot more opportunities for their playing style and to be able to do the things that they want to do.
So you're basically teaching players not to be Zoolander. Is that what I'm hearing? Because he could only turn right, couldn't he? Is that right?
I don't know.
You need to rewatch Zoolander, I think. That's where my mind went. I'm pretty sure he could only turn right on the runway. Anyway, we've very much gone down a very, very weird tangent and rabbit hole. But, we are want to do that when we commentate. So, it is certainly something interesting. So, I can understand doing that too. I feel like it's a very different thing when you throw in the the player management element as well, and managing all the egos. Whereas as one-on-one, it's kind of, it can be a bit more,
that's right,
whacking the solar plexus. You're not doing this right. This is what you need to do. Do you want to do it? You don't want to do it? Cool, I'll go and catch someone else.
Yeah. And look, I think football's a game of numbers, right? You're trying to create overloads. You're trying to strategise and beat the other coach, essentially, and, try and get your players to put your strategy in place as best as possible. And I'm an engineer, so of course I love numbers, and I want to try and figure out how to best beat the opponent with that. And I'm a competitive person, so obviously just love to win.
Yeah, I had a bit of an inkling that you might be a competitive person, Tara. I'm not sure why, but it's the side of all sports that I love too, is the numbers and the theory behind stuff as well, and even the mind games of things like where we saw Maddie Howard before, just pulling really wide. And it's not necessarily about creating an opportunity for yourself, but it's about what does that do to the defender, and what do they then do, or what does something else do when we were talking about the penalty shootouts the other day, and the Andrew Redmayne throwing away the other goalkeeper's water bottle. It's the mind games, the mentality, and then what are the other percentage pieces of games and all those sorts of pieces that come together. So it sounds like that's kind of the broad brushstroke of where you're going down with throw the engineering lens on the football.
That's right. Yep.
I like
Can't get away from it.
Bonnie's going everywhere on the ground. All of a sudden, opportunity in the box. Flag stays down, and we have a second goal. Absolute uproar from the Magic goalkeeper. And Maddie Howard, and all her experience we were just talking about, gets a second for Newcastle Olympic. I'm not sure what's happening here. Kurosawa. No, we're just pointing for the change. Okay, I was very confused. So quarter will come off, and LJ Babic will come on. But the deficit a little bigger than they had intended after Maddie Howard gets a second amongst much confusion and much frustration from Broadmeadow, and it had to be tight for offside with how deep she was in that box.
Yeah, look, she found herself in a lot of space there. It's a little bit odd that there was no Magic defenders obviously behind her or right next to her, but you know, whether it was on or offside, obviously that's the second goal for Olympic.
Johnson takes a shot from range. It's not going to really threaten with that lack of power.
And I think bringing on LJ Babic, obviously that's not what you wanted right before you were about to bring her on. Now with a 2-0 deficit.
2-0 deficit and threaded forward in front of Maddie Howard. It's going to be a foot race. Well judged there by Kurosawa. She sort of sat for a second and then decided, no, I need to get on my bike here. Now we wait for the throw in. They come down the sideline. Howard gets in front. We're going to have a foul to Broadmeadow.
Very interesting decision there.
It was interesting. A few players getting frustrated with it, but at the end of the day.
Not sure which way I would have called that one either.
No, I just thought it might have been play on, to be honest. But anyway,
let it go, keep playing.
He's in a better spot than we are. He's down at pitch level, seeing where the entanglements are happening. We've just seen a replay of that goal, and it looked like there was a Broadmeadow player sitting very deep, keeping Maddie Howard on side. So the assistant referee in wonderful position, got the call right, as much as it may not look like it live. So joys of replays and live streams. As Evans pokes this infield, Babic was pushing down on her, putting pressure on. Heavy touch over the sideline from Elodie Dagg, the opening goal scorer. And you feel that Magic need to find something and find something quickly if they're to somehow get back into this contest.
Yeah, I think they need to take some risks now and they need to start pushing forward, start pressing a little bit more, throwing plays forward. It might expose them at the back a little bit, but you're down 2-0. Got to take the risks.
Well, that's it. They're down 2-0, and this is one of those opportunities that presented, as we said, to further extend, further close that gap, and even if they get back for a point here, but realistically, I think safety versus a 3-0 loss, safety in a 2-0 loss is no better than risk taking in a 3 or a 4-0 loss at this point of their season. Goal difference is out the window in terms of their positioning on the ladder. When you have a look at it, I think 34 goals worse off than after a couple of very comprehensive losses this year. So competition points are the only thing that's going to matter for them now in terms of putting confidence in the bank, and even, as we touched on, building towards 2026, creating some chances, creating some opportunity that might give them some confidence in the next week or the week after.
Yeah, and I think it's an opportunity for Konjarski to look at the plays that he has now, obviously any young ones that maybe come off the bench, and see their potential obviously moving into 2026, and who he wants to keep around and who he might want to bring in.
And again, taking a bit of momentum into next week. They've got Adamstown Rosebuds next week in another derby game for them, and we know that both sides are in similar positions in terms of young lists and a lot of mid-season change. So if you could walk out of here getting a late goal and even going down 2-1 just with a bit of a spring in your step though, heading into Adamstown, and then all of a sudden they turn out what they've turned out today with a little bit, just that extra touch of polish with another week of getting things up all together, well, you could easily see them taking 3 points against an Adamstown side that have been very up and down. Even I think Martin Slade had owned that.
Yeah, that's right. And I think Magic, if you look from the start of the season for them, they've improved a lot. So I think they're just going to continue to improve for the remainder of the season.
Sort of expecting it'll just trouble some teams as well and create some frustrations. The ball threaded forward here over the top of Howard, but Kurosawa out to it. Now Young With Babic coming on, has dropped back into midfield. Hogg feeds it forward. Bonner. She certainly impressed me, her defensive work. I don't know a lot about her background. As we see another change coming. We've got a 14 coming on. We've got changes for both sides. Alex Yun's going to come on for Newcastle Olympic. Amelia Hale coming on for Emily Wicks. I think maybe a double change coming. Gemma House, and I didn't catch who the first player coming off was for.
Laura Hall. Also
Laura Hall, so resting up their experience.
Yeah, and Olympic obviously feel confident enough now in their 2-0 lead to take off those players and rest them.
Well, again, you know, it's not a bad thing when you can take off some experienced stars and rest them and bring on a former A-League player. So kind of balances the ledger a little bit, but Gemma House has been strong for them. So here they'll have a set-piece opportunity for Maddie Howard to try and deliver. Howard now with the corner, drives it into the near post, and Zoe Daly got forward after it. I'm going to say another corner. Let's come off Bonner last.
And Olympic are just going to try and control this game from here on out. Not do anything too risky. Stay compact, stay behind the ball, and you know, see if they can get another goal. But they're not going to do anything silly now with a 2-0 lead.
The Olympic now playing it back. And we're touching on Brooke Bonham before the impact she's had coming in. And again, another key import for them coming from the US. Playing some college soccer in Texas.
Yeah, she's a very tenacious defender. You know, she's been up against, you know, Gemma House tonight and Bouldery. And she's done a really good job. She's not let them have too much time on the ball, try to keep them facing backwards and pushing them backwards and having a lot of strong tackles.
I was really hoping we were going to see a little bit of her against Maddie Howard. I think that would have been a good battle, both physical, both strong players. But they've ended up in different corridors of play as Young feeds this one forward. But she'll be a key part of that back line moving forward, Bonner, and will give some real experience alongside the likes of Lawson and Molly Salvador when she comes back in. This one spits out across the byline, and again, we're talking a lot about what this game means for Broadmeadow, but it means a lot for Olympic too, doesn't it? You know, you have a look at that ladder, and you know, they're 5 rounds, 4 games without a win, 3 losses in a row. That breaks that streak for them, and they then head into games next week against Lake Macquarie and the week after against Adamstown. So a nice little, you know, potential momentum spring for them heading into those final 4 rounds. Yeah,
and there's interesting little periods in the season for all different teams where you have runs, you know, where you play the lower teams and you might get, you know, a run of 3 or 4 games where you get those wins, and then you might go through a period of, you know, you're playing the top teams, you know, 3 weeks in a row and you don't get any points. So obviously Olympic coming into that phase where, you know, they're playing the teams that are under them on the table and they're looking to get more points.
And that's the piece, isn't it? You know, if they want to make sure they do stay in that 4th spot, I mean, they'll go to 20 points here, you'd expect, with where we are in this game. They play Lake Macquarie next week, and the fact that Lake Macquarie didn't take any points today, I mean, you're looking at, you know, you play 18 games across the home and away season, so realistically for them, another win, so next week against Lake Macquarie, that locks them into 4th spot, which is quite bizarre to think that with, you know, still 4 rounds to come, or 5 rounds to come, that we could be in that position as the ball's crossed in, and a little bit of a spill here. I don't think Zoe Daly realised that it landed at her feet. Opportunity for Dag to get a second. Can she? No, it's cleared away again. Who's there but Bonner? Yeah, I think that caught Zoe Daly by more surprise than anyone else. I think she literally looked like she was just about to walk away because she thought the keeper had taken it, but the keeper had parried it down to her boots.
Yeah, and I guess those are the types of situations where, as a striker, you're just always looking to see if the keeper's going to drop it because you could get an easy goal, just a little tap in.
Never assume anything. Daly with a nice threaded ball, and everyone just sort of watches it until it's picked off at the back by Young. Nickel feeds it forward for Howard. Lawson with work to do. Howard plays it in, looking for Hewen. A little panic there by Broadmeadow as they drive it across the sideline. Cameron.
And it nearly feels like the season only started, like a few months ago, and we're 5 rounds to go. Getting to the pointy end of the season, it's actually gone quite quick.
Feels like only yesterday you and I were at Jack McLaughlin calling the Charity Shield, which, when you think about it, was actually almost 5 months ago. It was the 7th of February, that game, but before you know it, we'll be at finals, and there's so much big football to come, right? We've got state cups, we've got playoffs for the relegation spots. We've got obviously the semi-final series for both men's and women's competitions. We've still got the regional Super League building up as well. There's so much football at the moment, and it's a wonderful place to be. And of course, Ever the Salesman. You can find all of that live and free, as well as all the NPL men's and women's first and reserve grade games, every one of them live and free on Northern New South Wales Football's YouTube channel. And it is our good fortune that we get to bring just some of those to you. And of course, if you do want to catch some more football action, there is still more NPL women's this weekend. You can tune in and watch the final game of Pride Round as Charlestown Azuri side take on a New Lantern side, a game which you might have a little bit of vested interest in, Tara, as we bring what is a wonderful celebration of pride and inclusivity in football to round out this weekend with the Pride Round.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting game. That's hopefully I'm on the winning side of tomorrow afternoon. But yeah, what a great weekend of football to obviously celebrate Pride Round.
Certainly will be. It'll be a tough job, undoubtedly. You're aware, that Charlestown Azuri side, they've dropped one game all season, just them and Maitland trading a couple of games. But teams only lose it to someone else for the first time once. That may as well be tomorrow, right?
That's right. I think Charlestown are obviously a very good team, and that's why they're on top of the table at this point. I think last time we played them was 2-2 draw. So, hopefully this time we might be able to get a few more goals. We've got a few more players. So, yeah, they're a very tough team to play, very physical, and have some very lethal goal scorers in their team as well.
They certainly do. They did a job last week against Maitland with no Melina Ayres in action. They had Gemma Simon on the team sheet. We were talking about it before. They had her coming off the bench and didn't need to use her. So pretty handy when you can get an ex-Matilda just sitting there, just warming the bench. Right. And she's obviously fit and healthy because she's been playing a bit of rugby league as well, as we were talking about off air a little while ago. So some of these Charlestown girls blow me away. Melina's another one.
Maddie Gallegos
is just both her and Melina are playing AFL. I was doing multiple codes at 21, but no offence to any of those girls, none of them are 21. I couldn't think about getting out and playing one game right now, let alone playing 2 games every weekend. And especially in sports where there's football is a contact sport, right? But rugby and AFL they're contact at another level. They take a bit of a shot there, and I think Maddie Howard might have even sold the fact that was a corner then, but maybe Kurosawa got a hand to it, but it was never threatening the goal.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine playing a game of rugby league or AFL and then, the next
I mean this in the nicest possible way, but you've probably got a bit better of a frame for it than Gemma does. There's not a lot of her.
Yeah, true.
And, Melina taking up, as I understand, basically taking up AFL at this point in her life.
Well, I mean, she's a Victorian, surely.
Yeah, so, it's in the blood, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in their blood.
That'd be like saying that all New South Welshmen play rugby league. So,
yeah, true.
I mean, Gemma's living up to it. You're letting us down. Corner comes in. It sits in the box and cleared away in the end. Olympic not done with 2. They'd like a third. Cross into the box. This time the flag goes up. Maddie Howard yells turns and yells at the assistant referee, but doesn't actually yell at the assistant referee because there's no assistant referee on the side she looked at. I'm sure she wasn't actually yelling at the referee.
No, I think that was a bit of frustration. There's been a couple of offside calls now for Olympic, so a bit of frustration there.
Melody Dagg going for something very inventive there, almost a bit of a scorpion kick, channeling her inner Riley McGree. As we talked about before, though, I think lots of positives for both these sides out of this game, considering the challenges that the service has at times presented. There's been some really good build-up play from both sides on a number of occasions.
Yeah, there's been really good glimpses from both teams. Magic have, you know, a few times have had some opportunities, gotten it wide, gotten crosses in the box, you know, hit the crossbar. Some good build-up play, same from Olympic, so they need to take those points out of this game and try and take them into next week as well.
That last bit of play there, Jess Evans came across with a header and Lily Jane Babick did her best to channel the matrix getting out of the way, and she's having a good laugh, enjoying her time back out there. I think there's just been a lot of positivity as well from a Broadmeadow side that could quite easily, after that second of goal, have just sort of dropped their heads, but they're still pushing, still trying to build those pieces, and probably talks to the mentality and approach of their coach and Jason Konjarski as Danielle Nickel with another great run down the sideline. She's been really solid for Newcastle Olympic today. Mawson tries to feed it back in, and Olympic will get a throw in here. Nickel with the throw for Alex Ewan. A little deflection as she hit it off the boot, looking out wide for Zoe Daly. Ewan turns into Levi Cameron and gives away a foul.
Not sure if you've seen some of Alex Ewan's tackles in the A-League, but she can
the thing that always sticks in my mind was the F3 derby when Central Coast had first come back in the competition. There was a bit of push and shove. And speaking of rugby league, Alex Ewan came flying in like Spencer Lenu and just absolutely clattered into someone and then got a red card. She's not backwards in coming forward, Alex. So
I've seen her have a few pretty good side tackles on some strikers in my time.
Yeah, she certainly won't die wondering, Alex. She's the sort of player that will get fans on their feet, both positive and negative. But the one thing is, Newcastle Olympic will take the 3 points here tonight. They turn the derby into a trifecta, 3 wins from 3 this season over Magic, a timely return to form. Tara, how important do you think that is as they head into the final rounds and what now looks like an eventual place in the top 4?
Yeah, obviously a really important 3 points for Olympic now in that 4th spot. I think, you know, after the last few games for them and not getting any points, that was just something to get their confidence back, and now obviously moving into a couple more games with, you know, teams that are under them. They'll want to continue this momentum now, obviously leading to the end of the season, and then hopefully for them in the finals.
And certainly a great 2-goal win. Goals to Elodie Dagg and Maddie Howard, sealing it 2-0 for Newcastle Olympic in Pride round. But that does wrap us up here from Magic Park. The NPL action will roll on across Northern New South Wales every match, every week, live and free on the Northern New South Wales Football YouTube channel. I'm Chris McPherson, and on behalf of myself and Tara Andrews, thank you for your company, and we will catch you next time.